and start the recording. All right, you guys. So this is our Monday night goal getters. And tonight I was going to talk a little bit about vulnerability as a leader, because I think it's something that is so important. And a lot of times, not utilized as a leader because of fears of being perceived as weak. And I don't love that at all. I think that in this business, being vulnerable takes us a lot further as a leader than, trying to be so strong all the time. So I wanted to dive in a little bit about that. And then we're going to just talk about some beginning of the month things and, planning out your weeks to make sure, or your week for this week, to make sure that you guys are set up to have a good, successful week. I know it's going to be a little shorter of a week, but I guess I won't, because we always do these on Mondays. All right, you guys, I'm like so off. All right, so let's talk about vulnerability for a second. In the chat box, you guys, I want to see who here feels comfortable being vulnerable in front of their team. And vulnerability can really mean anything to you, whether it is personal things that you're dealing with, saying, I'm sorry, I was wrong, talking about where you're at as far as growing your own businesses, whatever it is. I'm curious to hear who feels comfortable in those situations being vulnerable with their team, and who still feels like they are in the process of getting to that point with their team. There's no wrong answer, you guys. So I think it's helpful for us to all see, where everyone is at. So, when we're talking about vulnerability when it comes to this business, I mean, honestly, it can be like a conversation killer sometimes. Being vulnerable, I think it really does get a bad rap, especially in the context of relationships and doing this type of business, because everyone has an opinion on that word. It's kind of like everyone has an opinion on the word hustle. Some people are like, I love it, and some people are like, it exhausts me even thinking about that word. So people try to hide their vulnerabilities. Not everyone, but a lot of people try to hide them at all costs when they get into this business and become more of a leader or take on more leadership roles. Yet, when the moment comes, I think that most of us feel really drawn to people that are courageous enough to be real, because it's hard. And when someone really opens up to me about whatever is going on, like, I feel much more connected to that person. So when I think of vulnerability, it is a very, very powerful tool, just in any emotionally intelligent leader's toolkit. If you guys haven't read the book Emotional Intelligence, I highly recommend looking into that. I think there's also a 2.0. I read them when I was in my corporate job for this program that I was in, and it totally changed my outlook on leadership and positions of, I don't want to say power, but leadership positions, whether it's in your corporate job or a job like this. But I think that courageous leaders really do leverage that kind of woundedness, for lack of a better words, into genuine connection, and then into like innovation in their business and learning. And they embrace those moments of vulnerability, and by acknowledging that their current state, or just taking responsibility for their emotions, or even asking for help. Sometimes a lot of us struggle with asking for help. And I'll be honest, when I first started this business, I didn't want to ask for help, because I was like, I can do it all. And if I can't do it all, I'm not doing good enough. I need to work harder. But over time, I've realized that it's actually a strength to be able to ask for help, because then you can succeed better in other areas that really need your attention by asking for help to pick up the slack in other areas. So if vulnerabilities, you guys, are left unchecked, energy is invested in ways to kind of like combat that perceived weakness. And I think those wounds that we have get buried a lot deeper. And then we have blame and defensiveness, or, shame. And those things block you from taking the appropriate risks that you need to take in your business. And then your creativity can be squashed, and just innovation with the way that you run your business can just completely be eradicated. And that's not what we want. So just think about it too. When we're trying so hard to just be these strong leaders, and I'm not saying strong leaders are not good, you guys. Obviously, we all have our different opinions of what a strong leader is. But when we're in this spot of hiding vulnerabilities, it can be really exhausting. I felt like that for years in Young Living. It was really like the last 2 years where I really stepped into being open about those vulnerabilities and seeing them as a strength as a leader. But when we're hiding them, it's just really exhausting. I mean, it's like you're in the CIA and like you can't tell anybody about it, you know? So hiding or protecting that is, you know, driven by a mistaken belief that you're not strong enough to handle the challenges. And you guys are. You absolutely are strong enough to handle any challenges that come your way within Young Living in a leadership perspective. So just know that when you open the door to understanding the vulnerability, that you're taking the first step towards ownership of your emotions and also creating environments for growth and learning, not just for yourself, but also for the rest of your team to actually follow in those footsteps. So I personally think that a leader acknowledging things like, I don't know the answer to that, or I was wrong, you know, that really fosters an environment of imperfection. And the gifts are in a leader's ability to put themselves on the line in a way, I think, that really recognizes that you don't need to have all of the answers. And together as a team, we can create a solution. That's a really powerful thing. So I'm going to share with you guys just a few ways that you can really open that door to vulnerability in your leadership and in your business. So before I do that, does anyone have any questions or anything that they want to share? I'm reading the comments right now and I'm loving that. Okay. Oh, where'd that go? Okay. So the first thing, you guys, is asking, how can I help? And genuine connections are obviously very important in this business, but they're also formed when you're open about your experiences. And I'm not talking about the blanket rule of like airing all your dirty laundry or disclosing all your personal secrets. That's not what I mean at all. What I'm referring to is, you know, the vulnerable moments when life gets in the way and things get hard. And just being vulnerable creates this space for conversations to be had in this business where you members or other leaders on your team would receive help to recover from, I don't know, a loss or something, you know, not hitting a rank or losing members on ER or whatever it is, you know, and they can be more prepared to deal with that quote failure by just being able to have those open conversations and create a solution and be able to move forward with it. So just making sure that you're creating genuine connections and asking people how you can help and being open with your own quote failures. So the second thing is going to be to take off your armor. So vulnerability fuels the strongest relationships and honestly can really transform performance to help just bring more success to your organization, to your team, to your leadership. And I personally think that one of the boldest acts of a leader is to just be publicly vulnerable. And I know that's very uncomfortable for people, especially when you're first getting started. It was for me, but I have seen my team grow so much by myself being more vulnerable and not creating this, I don't know, this bubble of perfection. And, you know, just having this image of a leader walking around, you know, with no issues. Or on the flip side, you guys, like, I'm not talking about someone walking around with like their box of tissues and sharing all of their deepest and most personal secrets with everyone. I think that just being vulnerable in this job, it just simply means that you're ready to take off that armor and put aside any pretenses and just check your ego at the door, and just being comfortable with not having all of the answers and engaging perspectives and thoughts from people on your team. And that does not have to be the first, that you don't have to be the first with an idea or the first one to answer or the first person to lead a call. And I think that that is something, you know, that goes really far in letting other people on your team step up and know that you don't have to be the one to always be leading. And, you know, over time, I've also become a lot more comfortable with that. I used to think like, oh, well, my team needs me to be leading, you know, because like they're on my team. And if I'm not leading a class every month, like I'm not doing a good job. And honestly, I think the best thing that I have ever done for my business is stop teaching so many classes and just flow everything to our upline, because we have an amazing upline. We have so much good support. And now my skill set can be better used somewhere else by, you know, checking that ego of like, I don't have to be the one to do all of these things. So brings me to my third point, you guys, is creating a vulnerability mindset. So I want you guys to start to see the aspirations of your business through the eyes of the people that you lead. So as you step back and you allow others to take the driver's seats of those conversations, your people are going to feel more connected and invested, and they're going to have a deep sense of commitment to the shared vision of your organization as a whole. And I think that is very important if you're trying to scale your team. You cannot do this alone. I can't do this alone. There's no one on this call that can do this business alone. We have to rely on each other, and being open in those conversations and hearing everyone's thoughts. It's going to change your business. It really, really will. And there's this book called The Innovation Mentality. And the author of the book, he actually challenges people, or I guess challenge entrepreneurs in general, to embrace this kind of new mindset. So, given the change or the speed of change, he says that it is critical for leaders to see the power of relationships to collectively achieve the outcome. So he's saying, to build trust, business leaders must lead with a power of transparency, accountability, and vulnerability. So write those 3 things down, because I think they're all equally important in running a business, especially a business like this, and especially a business where, you're all kind of spread out. And I know a lot of us have local teams, but we also have parts of our teams that are so far away from us in different time zones. So having that transparency and accountability and vulnerability just makes your team more cohesive. And I think it just gives you a better sense of trust in the people that you lead, and also a better sense of trust that they have in you. So the 4th point is, I already kind of mentioned this, but checking your ego at the door. The most impactful moment I've had as a leader is to just learn to sit and listen. And I'm an Enneagram 3. So if any of you guys are also an Enneagram 3, you know that that's not always the easiest thing, because you're like solutions driven and you just want to create the solution. But sometimes creating that solution just means sitting and listening. So as leaders, we need to just stop driving the conversation and painting that vision or developing the ideas to execute for people all the time. Obviously, there's a time and place for our expertise, but that doesn't have to be the driver's seat all the time. So even more than that, I think that a lot of times as leaders, we have to stop answering the tough questions along the way. When you place your ego to the side, you remain engaged, which is obviously very important in this business, and focused on that conversation that you're having. So you can fully hear and actually embrace your people's ideas. And, when your trust, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Oh, so when your ego kind of rears its head, which it will, depending on your personality type, just remind yourself that it is not about you, but it's about the people around you. And learning that the hard way in this business for me has just been, it has been a game changer, honestly. You don't always have to be the person to know everything. And there's something very, I think, special about letting the people on your team just drive those conversations, or even if they're just having a conversation with you about their pain points, just sit and listen. Let them drive that conversation. And then when they need you to step in, they'll say, what would you use? Or like, have you ever had someone with this situation? Just listen for those cues for you to actually engage. So brings me to my 5th point. When people share, great business is done. So have you guys ever seen the show The Prophet? Has anyone ever seen that? No? Okay. It's on CNBC. But anyways, the guy's a self-made millionaire, and he delivered this keynote address at, I think it was like Xerocon. I just read about it today. But anyways, it was a few years ago and I forgot to write exactly what it was. Xerocon Austin or something. But anyways, he was emphasizing that the key to business is understanding people, which I know that seems like really elementary. But he shared his story as an orphan born in Beirut, and he stressed the significance of creating spaces for people in the workplace to be candid and to be vulnerable. And then a quote that he had that I wrote down is, vulnerability is the key to business, opening yourself up and showing people who you are. So vulnerability, honestly, is like hardly a trait that a lot of leaders are like racing to embrace. I know I sure wasn't. but it can really build deeper relationships, you guys. And I know I'm kind of sounding like a broken record on talking about building these deeper relationships through vulnerability, but you're also going to build loyalty in your business. And this is a very important business to have loyalty in, but also you're going to enable people to bring their whole selves to this business, to these products, or, not just from a business perspective, but just you're enabling people to just bring their whole selves into this community, I guess is the best word to say it. But one of the boldest acts of any leader, I said earlier, is to be publicly vulnerable. And by extension, not just to the people on your team, but just to the world. So if you guys follow me on Instagram, you know that like I let it all hang out. Like I mean, there's obviously parts of my life that I keep private from people, besides those closest to me. But all in all, we share the good, bad, and the ugly, because I think there is power in that, and the power is connection. And that's how we grow our businesses from, looking at our cold market, for me at least, but also when we already have all of these people on our team, and how do you create a better connection with them? Anybody? I mean, because I personally think it's from being vulnerable and giving them opportunities to connect with you. And if you're not open and you're not being vulnerable, how do they get to connect with you? Right? Like they just know the surface level of you. And I tell people all the time, I am not good at surface level relationships. It's very hard for me because I think I even told Ashley this when I first met her in person in Hawaii, because we just like immediately connected and was like sharing very personal things. And I was like, this is where I thrive. Like I want to know everything about someone. And when I was just at Gold Retreat, Allison, I don't think is on here, but I was asking her a million questions. She would answer one and I'd be like, okay, well, what about this? And I was like, I'm sorry if I asked so many questions, but it's honestly like, it is so much easier when you know someone's heart, and then you can better serve them, even if it's just in a friendship. So I don't thrive in surface level. And as my team has grown with Young Living, that has been something that's very difficult for me, is not being able to know everyone's pain points and not being able to have a personal connection with everyone. Because I mean, my team is, I don't know, I think like 27 or 2,800 people. And that's hard for me personally, but I think that's why it's so important to show the people on your team that it is okay to be vulnerable. It is okay to have hard moments and say, I'm struggling right now. Or, if you guys are on my team, every single month when we have our calls, I share our team stats every month. And if I don't, it's because I forget, but I share them every single month. And I think it's important for you guys to know as a team, like where we're at, because I don't ever want it to seem like I'm way ahead of where I am, or that I don't have my own struggles in this business. And that's why I've always been very open with, where I'm at with my platinum journey. It sucks. My husband is stanky leg over here. And, that's hard having the OGV that you need, but seeing one part of your business just feels so far behind. And I think I've always wanted to be open and sharing those things, because you guys deal with that too, right? Like you look at your numbers and you're like, dang, I feel real far away from that. Or why am I doing so good over here? And this leg is like, just not really doing what I want it to do, even though I'm putting so much effort. Like I feel that, you guys, when you have those issues or those, I don't know, insecurities, like I have them too. I know Ashley has them too. Like we all struggle through that. And Ashley is also so good at being open and vulnerable. And like, honestly, like listening to her Motivation Mondays. Do you guys remember those? That's when I was like, wow, like this is actually a really powerful tool to use in this business, is just being honest and telling people where you're at. And it's hard. It is obviously so hard to do. But leadership is choosing to just start, even though you know that you aren't perfect, you guys, and knowing you'll never get to that point of perfection. But leadership isn't about perfection. It's a growth journey and a growth process that others need to see you have. People need to see you fall down, and they need to see you stand back up again. And they need to see you say, hey, we didn't do this, or we didn't hit this goal, but you know what? We're going to keep going, because it doesn't end here. So like I said, that's why I share our stats and where I'm at, because I want you guys to know, like, yeah, this sucks. And maybe this isn't where I want to be right now, but I'm going to keep going. You're going to see me still showing up every day, because I want you guys to do that too. And I need you guys to know that the growth in your business isn't just in the good qualities. It's not just all the good things happening and those successes. It's in the hard moments in between. And all of those things are necessary to become a really good leader. You need to go through those things to get to the best possible leader that you guys can be. So just know that leadership is not just in the good qualities, and your team needs to see more than just the good qualities. And I was recently having a conversation with someone on my team, and she was talking about how she doesn't feel like she's good at relationships. And she said that she feels like she always, has to be strong and perfect for her team, or they're going to see her as weak. And I was like, no, I think that if you share those hard parts of your life, your team is going to see you as really strong, because guess what? They're probably going through a lot of those same things too. And now you guys can figure out the best way to problem solve and, become like, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but come up with these solutions to make your team move forward and make their teams move forward, even though you guys are both dealing with these similar kind of issues. So you guys don't be afraid to share those hard parts too, because I think it makes you a better leader. Yes, Hannah, it makes you much more relatable. And anyone that has this, like aura of perfection around them, they're probably really struggling on the other side of that. And they're just not showing their teams, versus being open and vulnerable and allowing their team to pick them up and you guys move forward together. It doesn't make you less of a leader. So just know that. Okay. I wanted to keep it a little shorter tonight so that we would have time to do some planning. So let's talk about beginning of the month. Ashley, I know you weren't planning to talk, but since you're on here, do you want to share anything that you personally do at the beginning of your month to make sure you have a good solid month?
Absolutely. So something that's important. So first of all, thanks, Jen. For me, it's been interesting, and I will just be really real with you guys. I did those Motivation Mondays every Monday for 4 years. And it felt like I was like not motivated to do Motivation Monday. And now I feel like I should be doing Motivation Monday. And the reason I'm saying that to you all is I want you to understand that everything that's in our hearts, our mouths speak out of the overflow of our hearts. So if your heart is full, then what you're saying out of your mouth will probably sound similar or the same. And it's not ever something you should shrink back from and not want to repeat, especially what we do in our business. It is about bringing new people in. It's about embracing new people. I love, love, love to serve the people that I've been running alongside for years in this. But really, at the end of the day, if I do not allow myself the room in my heart to serve the new people who have never heard me before, have never been educated on the raindrop, don't use our shampoo, don't know what Ningxia is, then it's not serving our team. And just maybe a sad story, but I think it needs to be told just briefly. The same month I started doing Young Living, a woman from our church that was my first grade teacher, I am really good friends with her daughter, and we served in our prayer lounge, Connect Lounge, like all the things together. So without knowing, I posted when my kit was on the way, I'd planned a class. I'm like, hey, I'm having this class of this stuff. I don't know what it is. You should come. And that Sunday, she's like, hey, I got wheels. Like I got them in the mail last week with another person, like obviously she got them not from me since I had not gotten them yet. Story about her, and just to fast forward and not make it super sad, is the way that we can show up for people and honor and serve them is we're real and we're people. She has pancreatic cancer and is dying. I mean, she is. And her husband said, Ashley, not her upline, not her team, not whoever she did this with, but Ashley, when she dies, can you come take everything and make sure I can order Ningxia Red and Super B every month? That's what her husband said to me legitimately this afternoon. So this might sound really random. My point is to love and serve people consistently at the beginning of the month. Yeah, I'm gonna cry. It's like legitimately known her my entire life, and just she came to the community pool we go to today and looked like a skeleton. But here's the thing: her husband knows there's 2 things he uses every month, and he loves them. He also knows that the 700 bottles of oil she's been ordering for the past 7 years, literally, I think they have just hundreds, that he knows that's not what he's going to do, but he knows they're good, right? He's not going to throw them away. He knows they're good. And so to love and serve people, and the heartbeat of what I'm saying is it sometimes looks different. Sometimes what I do every day in our business is all behind the scenes and it's all connection based. And it has nothing to do with making money. Although the ultimate goal is to, let's say, change lives. But quite honestly, guys, we are also feeding our families with our paychecks. And even if that's not for you actual food, I want you to think about that. But at the end of the day, I want people to know that I know how to use oils and I know how to love people. But loving people is first. So that piece and that random story I shared is because I want to love people first. And then like I want to show them how to live a life that's healthier second. And again, I know it was a random story, but it just so much was a connection to me being like, I was always so sad Nancy wasn't on my team. Like it broke my heart constantly. She randomly enrolled people, like just love her. But at the end of the day, still someone you can go to that you love and trust, there will always be a connection back. Always. And even if it's a heartbreaking one, if it's someone on your team that goes through a traumatic injury or sickness and they know a friend who isn't on your team and they have this friend with the similar thing going on with them and they want to connect you and you want to give them advice, like whatever, guys, God honors us when we honor what's before us. And that's what we do. Like God honors our business and what we focus on, we get more of. So if you focus on the people, the money will always come. If you focus on the purpose, the abundance of opportunity will come. Here's what I do know. At the beginning of every month, what I focus on is the new and not the old. I focus on the clean slate and I look at it as an opportunity to not rebuild what I had in August, but to start brand new and make September the best month I've ever had. And when I look at that, is I look at it that I do not sprint and always reverse hustle or whatever you call it the first 10 days. But what I look at it is that I'm not starting walking. Like I'm not walking the first 5 days. I'm going to do like a jog. Like I'm in it to win it. I'm excited. I'm going to jog. And really for me, my most powerful sprinting time where I feel like I'm the powerful part of the month for me, I really try to make it like the 5th to the 15th. Where I'm like, this is solid. Like I know the promos well. I put my ER or my subscribers I order in. I have my class schedule planned. I'm good. And let's run, guys. And then when we get to the 15th, we don't stop, but we can pause. We're at a water stop on the race. We'll reevaluate a little. We'll decide what's happening, what we need to readjust, what we need to pivot, and we'll even think about the next month. But what we're not going to do is going to put so much hustle and effort, whatever you want to call it, into one part of our month. So I want to just assure you that whatever you're doing, your mind will always be the powerful tool in this game. And Jen has done such a great job talking about that tonight. But I always tell myself, your body will always do what your mind tells it to. Like it's something in my head. I say it to my kids all the time, especially with athletic events. Our minds are so much more powerful than our bodies. Even if you don't want to sit down and type those 15 million emails, your mind has to tell your body that this will honor and serve the process and the people and the amazing opportunity you have before you. So for me, that's what I have to do sometimes. When I run a report, the first 5 days, I try to do it every 5 days and thank people for their orders. Guess what? It sounds simple, but it's like annoying. It's like annoying to do. Like I don't actually want to run reports and send emails. Like I don't like that. Maybe you do, but I don't. So I have to literally tell myself something that makes me disciplined. Like this is part of business and I love it. I tell myself I love it. Same thing if you have kids under 5, maybe you can hear me on this. My kids, when they get in trouble, I use physical discipline in the way of you will do 50 push-ups. Not only will you do the push-up, but you'll say, I like it every time. Your second time of the day when you get in trouble, you'll say, I love it every time. So chest to the ground, I love it. Chest to the ground, I love it. Just, you know why? Because you love it. Because you loved it enough to back talk or hit your brother or throw a ball. Like you love that. So you love this. And guess what happens? I get to a place where my oldest kid, he actually likes to do push-ups so much that we've had to do a different thing because he literally for years is, I love it. I love it. Even if he's mad, he's saying he loves it. So I always tell myself data is delicious and I love it. So like when I'm pulling data or running reports, I literally like put on worship music or not worship music, some kind of other music. And I'm like, I love it. It's so fun. Data will feed me. And it actually changes the way I look at it. So especially if you don't have a large team, I want to really encourage you thanking your team for their orders each and every day. If you have under 100 people, that's totally feasible. If you have under 1,000 people, it's totally feasible that you're legit thanking every person on your team. More than that, I would say filtering down. Like I filter down to just the people that I am their silver above. Like they don't have another silver that's serving them in that way. Because I want to develop a relationship where they're like, I got my thank you email on the 12th. I got my thank you email last month. Like it's something fun. So when they get their missed order or their error or their promo email, we already have a relationship. So I want to encourage you also to spend this time. I know we're already like a week in the month basically, but spend some time really, really inviting and do it in a way that's not desperation, but it's excitement. So the two emotions, like y'all realize like excitement and fear, or we can say surprise and fear are like the same emotion flipped up and down, like flipped like two sides of a coin. So when I am excited, I'm like, Jen, I am doing this event 9:15 a.m. on Thursday morning, coffee bar, Ningxia Mimosa bar, back to school class. Can't wait to have you. Here's what happens when I'm fearful because I only have one RCP. I'm like, hey, Jen, I know you've always wanted to come to class. Not sure if Thursday will work or not for you, but there's this thing in my house. Let me know if you're interested. And it's like a weird, like that was weird. Like what I just said was weird because now I made it weird. I basically told her without telling her, I don't think it's happening, but it could happen if you decide to come. Maybe it'll come. But I just said so many weird words that she now is like, so maybe if, yes, I think you're interested. Like she now is like, I think I'm interested. I think maybe I should go. And meh. When the first one, she was like, sounds super fun, total FOMO, and Ashley wants me there, like assertive without being aggressive. So I really want to encourage you, the beginning of the month, especially, your mindset is really all this is wrapped around. It's key, and your verbiage is important. If you are like me and you're better at verbal communication than written, leave all the Facebook 1 minute limit. You need a limit, guys. If you're on WhatsApp, sometimes Instagram, sometimes text messaging, and I can leave like really long ones, it's really bad for me. I need 1 minute to win it because I know I have to be succinct and done, and then I'm not weird. So for me, I always make sure my messages are like less than a minute if I can, and just really quick and just like, hey, Jen, I know tomorrow's the first day of school. If it is, so obviously if it's not for her, but if it was, tomorrow's the first day of school. So excited for you kiddos. Thursday morning, an hour and a half after drop off. So pumped to see you. You're going to love this. My house, 9:15, be there. I will have your cup of coffee or your wine glass waiting for you. No guilt, total mom's morning out. Like whatever it is, like she wants to come now. I don't want to go. But you know what? I don't want to do. I don't want a weird canned message with an invite link to a Facebook event that's like, hey girl, don't know if you saw this. Like, hey girl. So there's lots of stuff. Jen, you should have never let me talk because I will say all the things. And I am just pumped to be here. It's an honor for real to get to do this. I sprint to my computer at night. I don't know if anybody's with me, if it's nighttime for you and you have kids, be able to work because I love it. You know what else? I tell myself that I enjoy it. I don't tell myself I want to get in bed. So that's my last tip for you, especially if you're someone with a full-time job, stay-at-home mom, different situation at home. You have to tell yourself that you love doing this, even on the hard days, or you legit will get in this trap. And I've done it where you're like, I just want to sleep. I just want to watch Netflix. Like I didn't know how to turn my TV on until this year. When I started pulling away a little bit from my business and being like, oh, I'm tired. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna turn my TV on. I'm like, oh, what subscription services do we have? And it legit was like a 10-year-old kid where I'm like, huh, well, that looks fun. Like, oh, I'll try that one. Oh, it's just 22 minutes of my life, 48 minutes. So I want to encourage you, cut time out to do your business because you will be excited on the 25th of this month when you get to push in a positive way, whatever that looks like for you, to the 1st of October. Thanks, guys. And again, we can't wait to see you every Monday. Jen, you're an amazing leader. It is a privilege every time to hear you, and I love learning from you. So thank you.
Thanks for letting me put you on the spot. You're always so good at that. You guys, isn't she the best? Like so many good tips and just like, I don't know, just the way she like plans things just like that. I'm just like, I need like another second. Okay. So if anyone else wants to share, I think it would be really great to hear from other people on the team. If you want to put in the comments or unmute yourself, to just say a few things that you personally do at the beginning of the month. I was going to share too, because I was hoping that other people would kind of hop on and share and make it more collaborative. But one thing that I like to do in the first week of the month, because the first week of the month, everyone is sharing the promos everywhere in all the Facebook groups, on Instagram, you're sharing them through text with your friends, whatever. But what happens after the first week? You never hear about the promos anymore. And guess what? Not everyone processes their order the first week of the month. So the first week of the month, I like to get my little calendar out and write down strategically what days I'm going to share about promos, whether it's one promo or, one level promo or whatever. It's in my Facebook groups, on my social medias, just so that it doesn't die out. Because if you stop talking about it and those people that order like between the 20th and the end of the month, I mean, they might not bump their orders up because they're like, oh, I kind of forgot about that, So that's a huge tip, you guys. Get your calendar out right now or right after this today and write those down, because you'll forget too. And I say that because I literally forget if I don't write them down. Out of sight, out of mind, The other thing that I do at the beginning of the month that I'm going to be working on this week as well is looking at the people that dropped off subscribe to save last month and or the beginning of this month, and make sure that it's not an error, because I mean, it's a very real thing that we're dealing with right now. Bless you, Ashley. Or ask them what happened, if there's anything that you can help with, because sometimes people just are like, oh, well, I can't do the 50 PV anymore. Well, it's different now. Some people don't know that. So, reaching out to those people, if you don't have Oily Trends, you should definitely get it. Tracy's husband created it and runs it, and it's such a helpful app to have as a business folder. But it shows you people that have dropped off subscribe to save, and it'll say like which month. So if they dropped off this month in September, it'll have a 1 next to it. And if they did it in August, it will have a 2. So reaching out to those people, I did it last month, and I think I got like 6 people back on subscribe to save, because they either didn't realize that they had gone off of it because they emptied their cart, or they couldn't do the 50 PV anymore, but they were like, I would really love to be able to order X, Y, and Z every month, but they didn't realize that they could do it with 20 PV a month. So obviously, they're not getting any promos or anything like that, but they're still gonna, stay on it and stay consistent with whatever goals that they have. So make sure you're reaching out to those people. Does anyone want to unmute? Does anyone feeling brave that they'll unmute and share some of the things that they do? I'm going to call on somebody.
I'll share.
Thanks.
So I'm like completely switching what I'm doing this month. What I found is every other month, I had an enrollment goal and I would give myself an OGV goal. And what was happening is I was kind of putting myself in this scarcity mindset where like, that's all I was thinking of is like, where is my next enrollment going to come from? Where is my next like OGV bump going to come from? And every conversation that I was having, like Ashley said, it was making me weird, because like all I was thinking about is this person going to sign up? So I'm totally switching that this month. And instead I'm focusing on how am I going to serve people? How am I going to serve my members? And how am I going to serve my prospects? And instead of having those enrollment goals, my goal is doing all of the things that are going to serve those people. So like my goal for myself is to reach out to 5 new people every single day, 5 days a week, and 5 of my existing prospects every single day, 5 days a week. Because if I do that, by the end of the month, I will have talked to 100 new people and followed up with 100 existing people. By Black Friday, that's 300 people and 300 existing people. So if I do those things and if I do them well, like if I not only serve people, but serve people with value, the enrollments are going to come and the OGV growth is going to come. So that's what I'm doing differently this month.
I love that, Michelle. That's so good. I remember, I don't know if it was Ashley or Tracy, but this was like 2 or 3 years ago. And I remember on a call, I really don't remember. I know it was one of those two. And they were like, don't get attached to the end, like the end answer. Like, it doesn't matter if it's a yes or a no, have that same conversation that you would no matter what. And once you can let go of their answer at the end, it becomes like you don't feel desperate anymore. It doesn't come across desperate. And I mean, it is so freeing. So I love that you're taking that approach this month. I think it's going to be a game changer for you. yeah, just let the results go. So Michelle, when you're talking about reaching out to 5 new people, are you reaching out regarding oils, or are you just making connections, like responding to their stories and just having normal conversation?
Yeah, just making connections. So like a couple examples are, I use certain hashtags. So like I'm a toddler mom, so I'm using toddler mom hashtags or girl mom hashtags. So I'm looking for other people that are using those hashtags, and I'm going through and I'm not just like adding people on Instagram that are using that hashtag and then moving along. I'm looking at their feed and seeing if it's somebody that I can genuinely engage with and like genuinely like connect with, I guess. So that's one example. Another example is I'm trying to be more intentional about like being friends with people in my community. So like my kids are in daycare. I've become friends with some of the moms of their friends and just like making connections there. So really just making friends, being more intentional about making friends instead of sitting in my bubble. Yeah.
I love that. It's like reminds me of the call that we had earlier this week when Allie shared about just like doing the IPAs. So you guys, if you are not on my team and you weren't on our team call, Allie Gooch talked about one of the speakers that we had at Golder Tree, and he was talking about just 3 IPAs. And the first one he was talking about was meeting new people, talking to new people. And he was saying 80% of your conversation should be around that as far as like growing your business IPAs. And so clearly Michelle really took that to heart and is doing that. So you guys, that's a super simple, easy way to engage with new people that she just gave you. So add that to your list. I think it would be really good to see if all of you guys did that this month and kind of how it works out. Savannah, what you doing? She can't unmute herself. Where'd she go?
I'm trying so hard. I'm sorry. Oh my God. I just got him to bed. It took an hour and a half, but he's asleep. Okay. Hi, I'm a hot mess. If you don't know, I took my bun out for you too. But yes, Hannah, I'm crazy. So I've been in a slump. If you don't know me, I just had a baby like 4 months ago, and I'm learning from y'all right now, pretty much. And y'all are hyping me up, and I'm taking notes. But that's about it.
I feel like you're being modest right now because you're so creative and you always have so many good ideas. So
I have them, but executing it is like the difficult part.
I feel
I
that.
start doing them and then I stop.
It's hard. And I think that like the stuff that we're talking about right now, you guys, this is why I always ask people to share, because I think it really is genuinely helpful to hear other perspectives, because, you know, Michelle has like 2 young babies. Savannah has a young baby. So, I mean, it's helpful to like hear from other people that are in your spot, or, you know, maybe you don't have young kids, but you have a full-time job and you're like, it is hard to find time. So I think this kind of collaborative conversation is very, very beneficial to all of us. So the other thing, you guys, what's that?
They're going to make me cry.
Oh, I love you. Oh, you're the best. You guys lost my train of thought because now I'm reading the comments and they're all so sweet to Savannah. Does anyone else want to share? Anna, do you want to share anything? I know that you had put stuff in the comments, or Teresa, Tanya, Lindsay, anybody want to share before we kind of wrap this up? Oh.
I just want to say thank you all. I'm kind of learning and just starting to grow my business, and you guys have such great tips, and I love to watch your videos. I can't always be here to watch them, but I do like to watch the replays, and I think you're all awesome. So great job, everybody.
Oh, you're sweet. I love it. We have people from all parts of the team on here. It's just like, it makes it, I don't know, so much more special to be able to learn from each other and like hear each other's ideas. And I mean, we are all at different spots in this business, you guys. And that's kind of why I wanted to talk about vulnerability tonight, just to kind of wrap this up, is because personally, from my own experience, I think that if you can master the way to be vulnerable in your business, in obviously with having boundaries, if you can master that from the beginning, you're going to be really successful in this. And I say that from a place of someone that started this business not being vulnerable, someone that is like type A, that had an ego, and releasing those kind of things opened so many doors in this business and opened so many opportunities for friendships and connections and like really solid, genuine relationships with people on our team, not just, in my downline that are members, but also crossline and upline. And it makes you better in this business, you guys. But those don't just happen by keeping your guard up and just having all of these walls. But just know that it's hard. Obviously, I know that a lot of you guys in the comments talked about one-on-one vulnerability is easy for you, but in public it is hard. And I get that. So I think just being intentional with those conversations, that is the best place to start. But I love you guys. And I think you guys are all amazing. And thank you, Ashley, for sharing tonight. So you guys, after this or tomorrow, be intentional, set some time to plan out your weeks. Whether it's this week, next week, or just throughout the whole month, be intentional in setting some things on your calendar and having intentional conversations with people. Okay. So if you talk to one person a day, maybe you're not doing 5, but if you're doing one person a day on your team, love those people well and have solid conversations, and you're going to have a really good month. Okay. I love you guys. I'm going to stop recording now, and Tracy will upload this recording tomorrow. And so we will share it in all of the groups. I hope you guys have a good night.